All right. Hello, America, and welcome, World Patriots. Today is Thursday, September the 8th, 2022. Have a great show planned for you guys tonight. It is London Bridge and the importance of September. A lot to talk about tonight. I have two special guests with us. We have John Esterbrooks and Stephen H. with us tonight, but a little bit of housekeeping. Just wanted to let you guys know. I just keep putting it out there. So, China's economy seems to be crumbling right now. Many countries around the world, their governments have crumbled, and they have revolted and replaced certain people. Japan is another place. Iran, another one that has fallen. And I just wanted to let you guys know, if you want a little bit of protection, if you want a little bit of insulation in these hard times, because I do believe the economy in America will not continue down the path it's going, then you guys need to get your hands on some precious metals. Andy at Miles Franklin is a great place to go to do that. You guys can find them at info@milesfranklin.com. Use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation. Obviously, that does help this channel out. It helps keep the lights on, the internet on, and the show continues. But more importantly, those precious metals, they're wealth, and you guys can have those. If the economy crashes, who knows what that will jump up to? It could be an extra $20 an ounce. It could be an extra $200 an ounce, $2,000 an ounce. I have no idea. No way for me to predict that, but it is wealth. And if nothing else, you can give it away as gifts to your children, your grandchildren, family members. It's just something that I think is important to have, is those precious metals. Again, you can find that at info@milesfranklin.com. Andy and his team are great people to work with. I work with them, and use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation. With that being said, we also have a great patriot, Mike Lindell, mypillow.com. He is out there fighting to save America, folks, and anything that we can do to try to help him in that effort by supporting him by purchasing his items, which is my pillow, the Giza sheets, which I have. I absolutely love the Giza sheets, and I have the My Slippers on right now. They're super comfortable. You guys can find him at mypillow.com. Again, you can use promo code LWN. It helps this channel out as well. Christmas is right around the corner. September is a great month to shop. Get some of those good deals going on at My Pillow. Andy at Miles Franklin, they run weekly specials as well for those precious metals. And, it's a great gift for Christmas, and Christmas months away. Very short months, to be honest with you. We're already halfway almost through September. So 2.5 months down the road, Christmas is going to be hitting us, and it's a great time to buy. So with that being said, I am going to bring in our two special guests, John Esterbrooks and Stephen H. And we're going to talk about some videos also that are out there on the internet that I just want to caution you folks about, because there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of misinformation out there, and some videos that have been circulating the internet for the last 3, 4, 5 days. One of them in particular saying that Kamala Harris is now the acting president of the United States. John and I will get into that. Stephen H., I don't know if there's any way to deny it, but I also don't know if there's any way to verify it yet. Now, I have been working on it for the last few days, and we haven't got anything concrete that says she is, but we also haven't got anything that says she is not. Another video that I just received yesterday that went out was talking about Biden's twin. And I think John Esterbrooks and Stephen has a little bit that they can add to that. We'll talk about that video. So, gentlemen, good evening, and how are you two doing today?
Doing great, brother.
How about you, Stephen H.?
Doing great, sitting here in the shade.
Louisiana, a great place to be. So, you guys heard my intro there, and the things that we want to discuss tonight. I'd like to jump right into these two videos and get those off our plate. So let's talk about the video first that's been circulating the internet that says Kamala Harris was just enacted as the president of the United States. Any thoughts on that?
Well, from the lack of being able to verify it, If you can't verify something with me, then it doesn't exist, and it is disinformation. And you know the possibility, yeah, it exists. It's very possible. But then when we see Joe Biden along with Barack and Michael yesterday at the White House, uh, that's evidence that the whole world sees. And could we all be being misled? Yeah, sure enough. We know that there's a massive disinformation campaign across the entire planet, not just here. So that's the way I view that until there's something that comes out and it's concrete and verifiable. I'm going to say that it's a disinformation, and the guy may have great intent coming out of Israel, and that's another red flag for me. Why would it be coming out of Israel, and someone in Israel have more insight than anyone that I can find in the United States? So that's a cautionary flag for me.
That's a great point there, John Esterbrooks. How about you, Stephen H?
Yeah, Israeli Live News. I followed him for years, and he did an update last night, and I don't think he thinks it's a real deal right now. He doesn't have anything to verify it, so I would probably pass on that one.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the next video that I just received yesterday, which we did verify. Just so you guys know, John Estabrook, Stephen H. both verified, and I also sent it off to Jeff B. It came back as verified. The video of Biden's granddaughter putting out a video. So the verification that we can all agree on is yes, 100%. That is Joe Biden's granddaughter. But we have some discrepancies in the information that was put out in that video. And I also had somebody come back to verify that yes, it's his granddaughter, but the lips don't match the audio. And I watched it multiple times. I agree with that, but it still seems like the lips are saying the information that she's putting out. But where we find discrepancies that that John had brought to my attention is there's no record of this other person. So John, you want to go ahead and touch on that, please?
Yeah, so the first thing, the verification that it is his granddaughter is fine, and then with the voice match and the video, that happens, and that's understandable to me. That there can be time delays, so where the lips are not synced up with the voice, and if it is a voiceover, it's a very good one, and the fact that it is his granddaughter making the statement, because it is her voice. And it is her in the video, and that's all fine. But then the huge discrepancy is there's no record of Joe Biden having a twin brother. And here's as far as I went back. I went back to his first run for Senate and the bio that was with him and the list of family members. And it's always been that he's one of four siblings. He has a brother, Frank, and a brother, James, and a sister. And yes, his brothers really resemble him. He's got a family resemblance undeniable, but there's no record of a twin brother. And I don't know how the only way that we could go in, and you'd have to make a vital statistics research in Delaware and at his birth and go back to his birth certificate, because it would be listed if he was one of two. But the name she used is twin brother Bo, and that's some irony in that he had a son named Bo that passed. But it's difficult for me to accept that you could hide a twin brother and never have that twin brother introduced in public or part of the public domain, part of the public records that we can go look at his, because everything that in his senatorial bio and his vice presidential bio, everything on his web says he's just one of four siblings. So I'm going to stick with that. I don't know disinformation. Why the disinformation? Why, if the pronouncement, and many of us have believed for a long time that is not Joe Biden, and that's from facial recognition, size of earlobes, jawline, chin, and that facial recognition says that this is not Joe Biden. and I can agree with that a lot better than I can agree that it's a twin. So that's I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah,
It
I
just
agree
looks
with
like
you.
another piece of different information. But did he die? Possibly.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. And for those of you in chat that are asking, what video are you talking about? I received a video yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening. It looked to be Joe Biden's granddaughter. She put out a video that stated that Joe Biden died 4 years ago, but he has a twin, and that the family did not want to give up the power that they had in the government, so the twin decided that they were going to take the role as Joe Biden and become president. And so that's the video that kind of started going viral yesterday. And we sent it off to have it looked at. I sent it to John Esterbrooks. He sent it back to me. That's the video that we're discussing right now. Just be careful with some of these videos that people put out, because it can lead you astray. It can give you hope, and we're just trying to do our best to disseminate and discern every bit of information that comes out. Stephen H., your thoughts on that video?
Yeah, you got to be real careful with stuff like this because they've been known before to put out stuff like this, and then this community will run with it, and then it'll discredit. If you discredit that, then they're gonna say, "Oh, well, everything you talk about is misinformation." You see, so you got to be real careful with this.
Very, very good point, Stephen. They put this stuff out to discredit. So when somebody grabs it, I'm guilty of grabbing certain things, folks. I've grabbed certain information, I ran with it, and that's why people get upset with me for being a little more of a skeptic than some, and to kind of step back a little bit and let things unfold and play out before I grab it. Why don't you grab it and run with it? Well, for that reason right there. I'm trying to be cautious in the information that we put out, and I don't want to be discredited for everything that we put out. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. I've grabbed some things that was disinformation. We put it out. I try to retract it when I possibly can, let you guys know that that wasn't true. So just be cautious with that information, and don't run with everything that comes out. Don't believe everything that comes out. So let's talk about something else real quick, John Esterbrooks. I'm going to go back to you. Something that you and I've been talking off camera, and something that has gone viral, and everybody, lamestream media is talking about it. Fox News has done multiple pieces on it, and we're talking about the red screen, the Hitler-like video and speech that Joe Biden himself put out. And we want to talk about the military. I know Derek Johnson and a few other people, Jeff B, called me, and we talked about it, about the optics behind the video and the speech itself, where Joe Biden basically, he said that half of America, over 80 million patriots, are enemy of the state, and that we are a threat to democracy. And in my opinion, he tried to gaslight the conservative and the patriot movement, which you and I have talked multiple times, John, about not allowing them to label us and not allowing them to drive our emotions to get involved in things that we shouldn't do. And I also believe that he was stirring up his own base, the left and the Democrats, to really despise, if you would, the conservatives and the patriot movement, to have them actually start attacking us, whether it's verbally, whether it could be even physically. And that's just not what a sitting resident should do. Your thoughts, John?
Well, and that's spot on, Mike. The even leftists and people from the left now have come out and denounced it as being a appearance of a satanic event because of the red screen. Anyone, and that was one of the key things that Derek Johnson and his breakdown of it and the symbolism of it, the Marines and the way their hands were folded in front of them, and that is not a Marine at rest. The hands would be interlocked behind their back and not in front of them. You're not going to see that from a Marine. And I agree with that. And Stephen H. just pulled up a while ago 3 pictures of all 3 acceptable stances of at parade rest. And that for that particular ceremony, that's what would have been. They would have been a normal Marine parade rest, hands interlocked behind their back and not in front of them. So that's a portion of it. But the red lighting in that, and the symbolism of that is pretty powerful. So the fact that leftists even went out and denounced it as being offering a satanic ritual setting and in front of Independence Hall, pretty powerful stuff. And the narrative behind what he did to attack the MAGA movement is all this. Why is it that Joe Biden in this speech that was going to unite never spoke about failures and policies? And that's why we keep saying, don't be dissuaded. So the video coming out saying Kamala Harris, she's been seated as the president. The video of Joe Biden's granddaughter coming out and saying he died 4 years ago. And when you go and you look at the original feed of that was posted on Twitter. And then I couldn't get into the Twitter account of the person that originally posted it, because that's the original post. The fact that people copied it and then linked it and put it on YouTube. Well, okay, so it's who actually captured that video, filmed the video, because it was not done. She didn't go on Twitter. It's not her Twitter feed. Someone else dropped it on Twitter. So how was that recorded? Where was it? We don't know. But all of the things are meant to distract us from what's happening in our daily lives. The importance of our attention. We cannot be dissuaded. We can't be altered in our thinking, that we stand firm against the failed policies of a failed president who is openly attacking Americans. It's not the MAGA movement. He can attack Donald Trump every single day. That's fine with me. But when you attack American people of a conservative mindset who only want the greatness of this nation restored, and we see the failed policies, that's the important. And last night in your conversation with Catherine, it was powerful that you brought that and shared that context. Stay focused on November, stay focused on the election, and not attacks on Joe Biden, but attacks on the failed policies that create inflation, that are creating indoctrination in our schools, the supply chain issues. Everything that Americans are struggling with are the issues and policies of a failed administration. Stay focused, stay on point, and share that single message. Register fellow Americans to turn out to vote. That's what we have to do.
Amen, John. You're spot on. Stephen H., your thoughts, your input on that speech that Biden put out a week ago, the red lights. I also took that this stance that the Marines had in the background was also a sign of disrespect. And that was put out by several different people, not just one person, but I was contacted by a couple of people that said that stance was actually a sign of disrespect. We talk about optics once in a while. I know Derek Johnson talks about optics a lot, and so do other people. How important do you think the optics of that speech was, Stephen H.?
I mean, I differ from a lot of people in my perception of this whole thing, where I'm at right now in this whole thing. The optics is obviously doing exactly what they wanted it to do, a distraction. They want us all distracted. They want us separated. They want us fighting, because they're so scared that if we all get together. And I'm sorry, but I'm not advocating it, but I don't think there's no other chance but revolt. And I mean, global revolt, all out revolt. I don't see no other way around it. But hey, whatever. And I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna know if there's any white hats or not. If we have a midterm election, it's over. If December 13th comes here and they put that new executive order in, it's over. And no one does anything, it's over then. So they're just trying to weaken us. And as far as China, he was talking about their economy. Yeah, their economy's trash, and they're doing it on purpose to hurt us. But what you don't understand is they fixing to start the Belt and Road Initiative or the Belt and Road Project, which is a road from China through the Middle East all the way to Europe. So they're gonna they're gearing up to transfer all their manufacturing and all their economy towards that. They don't need us anymore once they start that project. It's over with.
That's 75% of the earth will be 75% of the countries of the world will be connected to that Belt Road Initiative. And
That's correct.
You're 100% correct, Stephen H. Once they accomplish that, they don't need America buying products anymore. They'll cut us all out. And John Estabrooks has brought up multiple times about BRICS and how Russia, China, and so many countries around the world are all signed up for BRICS, which means the Western currency is no longer accepted. I want people to realize that the Western currency is no longer accepted. The dollar will disappear. We already talked about the petrodollar is gone. What does this mean for America, John?
Well, it means the collapse of the U.S. dollar. And then when Stephen just meant, if everyone should go and today type in and do a Google search for Executive Order 14067, Joe Biden's executive order, and the creation of a central bank digital currency. Why would they be? And that's December 13th. I mean, this whole move and shift from our paper currency and from the U.S. debt note to a central bank digital currency. Now understand why, if you wanted to have sound money in the U.S., you would have a U.S. digital currency backed by gold, backed by silver, backed by oil, backed by assets like the countries of BRICS are doing. But this is not what the executive order proposes. It is, and read it. When you read the deal, you'll become very clear. They're trying to institute what we said that Klaus Schwab would bring about in the World Economic Forum, and their mission is to have a global currency, a digital currency, to where we go from we will become a cashless society. Think about the biblical connotation of what that means when you put us on a social credit store to where we'll have digital accounts. We can purchase digitally, whether it's with a card or how marked, it doesn't matter. That's where Joe Biden and his executive order is accepting a central bank. Who are the central bankers? That's the bank, the Vatican Bank, and the British London Bank, England. What is the attachment between Washington, D.C., the nation state, 10 miles square of Washington, D.C., England, London, a 10-mile square, and the Vatican? They're all nation states, 3 nation states that are established. And they're established and they control. It's a business. It's a mafia. It is the cabal. It is the 13 bloodline families controlling all of the wealth on the planet Earth. So we know that right now we have 2 fronts that are openly fighting each other, and the war is ongoing daily. And BRICS is on one end of it, where nations declare their sovereignty. And that's what China, when you look at China and Taiwan and what's happening there and what's going to take place there, that is China reclaiming sovereign territory. Look at the Ukraine. That was part of the Soviet Union. And Vladimir is establishing again and wants to declare the sovereignty of the Soviet states. So the battle's ongoing there. And then, so what have they done? How do they contrast the debt currency, the U.S. petrodollar debt currency? It is not backed by anything but our willingness to exchange it for goods and services. It has nothing else. It has no value. There is no wealth in debt. If you assume and consume using debt, you have no wealth. When you go to gold, silver, actual stores of wealth, and you create currencies based on assets, crude oil, minerals, raw earth minerals, Africa is loaded. But when you do that and you see all the BRICS nations aligning, their mission is to stop the U.S. paper dollar, and the euro will collapse. It's going to happen. And it will either be great reset or great awakening of going back to sovereign nations.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, John, and that's why we talk about buying precious metals here at LWN. It's not about me getting rich. It's not about Miles Franklin getting rich, because nobody's getting rich. What it is protecting yourself and insulating yourself from some of this stuff. Even if it's just a coin or two a month, if you go to your local pawn shop and buy a silver coin or two, if you can afford more than that, and you can go to Miles Franklin and you can order, $100 worth of silver or $200 worth of silver or gold. Don't forget that Miles Franklin also offers gold coins that is a 1/10 of an ounce, so that it's affordable for people like you and me to get your hand on a couple of gold coins that's not going to break the old piggy bank. I think it's very important for you guys to listen to what John's saying. The collapse of the U.S. dollar is imminent. It's not a wishful thing. It's not something that might or might not happen. It's going to happen, and China and the rest of the world are going to make sure that it happens. When we actually go to Saudi Arabia, beg for oil, and they deny us and tell us no, and then we turn around and we're going to do all kinds of things to make Saudi Arabia a worse place than it is. What do you think they're going to do? I believe they're going to sign up for BRICS, and I think that's going to be the nail in the coffin that collapses a lot of this stuff. So, folks, go to info.milesfranklin.com, use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation, and protect yourself a little bit. Stephen H., what are your thoughts on this digital currency and the things that we're seeing happening in the world today?
Okay, on the digital currency, what I'm understanding from BRICS is they're going to break the world up into 3 zones. Asian zone, which is, China and all Vietnam and all that region, and the European zone, which is Europe and all that, and then the Americas, which is the South America, North America, Canada, and all the assets, all your new money system is going to be based off of the assets of that zone that you're in. That's what's going to be based off. That's how they're going to start it before they make the one world deal. Okay, so if you notice, I'm pretty sure everybody done figured out they're making it hard on everybody. You're going to lose all your land, and BlackRock and Vanguard and all the bunchers. They're all going into land acquisition, because that's going to be the what everything's going to be based off of when they delete the other money. All right. And on the world thing, I'm gonna make a prediction for y'all. Right? I don't like make predictions, but I'm pretty sure on this one. The big story going to be this winter is going to be starvation and death in Europe, and this is how they're going to do it, because they're already doing it in Australia right now. So they're cutting off the supply of everything, making it so expensive you can't buy it. It's all the same thing. And then they're going to use HARP. In Australia, they flooding them out and burning them out with drought, and they're pushing everybody to the cities. But Europe's going to be way worse than that. They're going to use HARP system they're going to have guide the polar vortex down there, and I mean, you're going to see the worst winter in Europe you ever seen in your life, and the death like you ain't never seen. And here's the thing, I want people to understand that there's like 8 HARP systems around the world controlled by different countries. They work in tandem. So these countries are all cooperating to do this. It's not like one country is attacking another country, and I'm talking about our country too. The deep state is in tandem, attacking, modifying this weather to get the mission that they want done. And so that's my prediction. You can mark it down and get ready this winter. You're gonna see death on a scale in Europe like you ain't never seen in your life.
Well, I'm gonna touch a data point on that, and I'm gonna go back to John Estabrooks for this question, and then we're gonna hit London Bridge and the importance of September. So I reported earlier today on Headline Hits that that Britain and Ireland both are now talking about not having any kind of Christmas lights, any kind of energy consumption in December because of Russia shutting off the energy pipeline that goes into the EU into Europe. It sounds like Britain and Ireland are in some major problems right now with energy, an energy crisis, and they're talking that people won't even be able to, one, afford to heat their homes in Ireland and Britain, or two, there won't be enough energy to heat your homes in Britain and Ireland. So there's two things against you, two strikes. Either there's not going to be enough energy, or the energy that's available is so expensive that normal everyday people can't afford it. So this begs the question, in that scenario where it's super expensive, you can't afford the energy, not much energy, and then you talk about what Stephen H just said, where they bring in HARP and they have one of the coldest winters on record, boy, that could really, like you said, it could wipe out a lot of people. John
No
Estabrooks,
food.
the question to you, is this the dark winter or the nuclear winter that's been predicted? Go ahead, sir.
Absolutely, and make no doubt, because already with the shutdown, Putin shutting off Nord Stream 1, the German people in the last month have had a 369% increase in their energy costs. Now, think about that, people, and think about what's happening here in the United States and the increase of energy. And they're doing everything they can, the Democrats and the deep state. They're using our strategic reserves. Well, okay, right now, our strategic reserves of petroleum. And those reserves are not just about having oil for automobiles. It's also about having, if the pipelines were cut or if there was a war or anything that happened, we would still be able to have fuel to heat. Everyone on the East Coast, what do they burn for their heat? Fuel oil. Well, when you have a president to hide his failures and to try to reduce for an election the gas prices at the pump to make it appear that prices are coming down, when he's actually depleting our reserves, and when they're at a 37-year low already, and yet every day he continues to pump, because trust me, we live where the oil is stored down here in Louisiana and Hackberry. Those reserves and those salt domes, that's where the oil is stored for the strategic reserves. And I got a son works for the railroad, and right now, leaving out of Beaumont, Texas, every single day going to Houston, Texas, is rail cars loaded with our strategic reserve oil. It's impactful. It's going to have, what are they saying in California because of the heat wave? No, they're just preparing us, folks, for what's going to happen, because they cannot keep up this false appearance of low costly gasoline. Gasoline is one part of the equation, but the overall fact that our oil imports have been cut off from Saudi Arabia because they won't exchange for the U.S. dollar. Our oil imports from Iraq have been cut off because Iraq will not accept the U.S. dollar. Russia will not accept the U.S. dollar. You want to trade with any of those nations? You have to get their gold-backed currency, or they won't sell to you. They will not take your U.S. dollar. Well, what do we have to exchange as a nation if they no longer accept our debt currency? What do we have to exchange? What could we buy? What will they want from us? Do we have a store of gold that we're going to trade for oil? And we're being forced into this. So, yep, the dark winter, whatever you want to call it, it's upon us, folks. And they know it. It's created. Now, here's the thing. If the white hats are truly in control, when will they flip the switch? And what's the importance of September? And why would they choose to start the takedown of the deep state in this month? Because the deep state has always used September, because there are two very key satanic holidays and dates in September that they've always used. Think about September 11th. Think about September 10th. Donald Rumsfeld comes out and says, oh, wow, there's $2.4 trillion missing from the Defense Department.
Yeah.
Where did he go?
Yep, you're spot on, John. We're going to hit the importance of September at the bottom of the hour here. But thanks for your input on the economy and the world economy. I wanna move forward real quick on London Bridge because it's in the news. I reported headline hits this morning on the health of the Queen. We want to talk about that, and then we'll wrap up with the importance of September. And I want to let John off his chain when it comes to September because I think him and Stephen H. both have a lot to input about September. But the Queen, now it's kind of like the Queen is like Hillary Clinton to me. I've heard that Hillary Clinton has died or swung from the nearest tree at least 150 times now. And I think anybody could predict the death of somebody who's 96 years old and eventually get it right. So she's not doing well. She's not at Buckingham Palace. She's at one of her estates in Ireland, I think it is. And the medical team for her is very concerned about her health. I think family members, some of the royals are starting to make their way there. I don't know if they're going to say their goodbyes. I have no idea what really is going on, but we talk about this, and some people call it London Bridge. And when the Queen falls, then other things start happening. John, I'm going to let you go first. Your thoughts on London Bridge and what's going on with the Queen?
Well, okay, so that is a very key portion of many of the drops from 17. And in that, and when we look at that, that was always a mark. And not just that, but then every time there's links there, then there's also links to the Vatican. And I was, I'll share that in the September conversation of what's happening with the Vatican. But we did see last week here, and it was a papal decree sent across all of the United States and telling the bishops and the cardinals that they want all assets liquidated and the money sent directly to the Vatican Bank. Why are they in a crisis for money, folks? What is happening with the Vatican? What is happening with the Bank of England and the euro? The euro's declined below the US dollar. So everything that we knew to monitor and look for, if you've paid attention to 17 and you've done your little homework and you go in and plug in London Bridge and you look at, okay, well, what does that link to? And then you link also you'll see the link to the Vatican, and then you link it to the Vatican Bank. So the Bank of London is the bank of the nation state of England. The Vatican is where the Vatican Bank and the nation state of the Vatican. What's happening in DC? We're broke. We're bankrupt. We're right now, question your school board members and see how many dollars did they actually get of the billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars promised for COVID for schools. Where's the money? They're not getting it. Where was that money? Where is that money? It's kind of like old Rummy coming out and saying there's $2.4 trillion missing. Well, how many trillions of dollars for the infrastructure? How much infrastructure do you see in your state? How many bridges are under construction across the United States with those trillions of dollars that were put forth for infrastructure? Where do you see the money actually? It's not. It's propping up the lie. The central bank is in crisis and they're spending the money that was appropriated, and they don't ever have to reveal to us a single thing. The Federal Reserve is not controlled by any portion of the United States government because we are a fully captured federal government that is owned by the Vatican in England, and they're pulling and they're taking our dollars and they're saying, oh, we need it for this and we're going to pass. No, where's the FEMA money? Ask anybody in Louisiana, where's the FEMA money? Why do they owe us hundreds of millions of dollars right here in our community? Why is our school, when right now they're owed $700 million, and where's the money? It's not getting here. And is that true in your community? Do your homework in your community. How many federal dollars for infrastructure or COVID have actually reached your community? It's not, people. It's all a scam. It's all a lie. And the money is propping up your market today. And it's propping up the central bankers who are they're collapsing. No one's going to use their paper debt.
You know, I don't disagree with you, John. I'm not going to disagree with what John says. The only thing that I'll add to it is when you're talking about the road and bridge infrastructure bill and the money that was ear tagged for that, when you're dealing with government, which I've had to do in my career, there's so many red tapes. It takes so long to get anything done. Could that be part of the problem? I think that could be part of the problem, but I agree with John. I believe that they signed that bill into law and that they're actually using that money to falsely prop up the American economy. And I do believe what John is saying. I think the central banks and the bankers here in America, they're starting to collapse. We're seeing a lot of it happen with Bank of America and Wells Fargo. You know, I did reach out to Andy yesterday. I've got him coming on probably sometime this next week to give us an update on what he sees happening here in the United States and around the world. Because Andy, when he's dealing with precious metals, he is on top of all of that stuff. I know he was on Mark Z the other night. John, you said that you watched him over there. So I got to get Andy back over here so we can talk about this stuff and update everybody on what's going on so that we keep everybody informed and we educate everybody. Stephen H., your thoughts on London Bridge and the things that John has stated tonight.
The Queen stuff and all that, that's really not that's John's expertise. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing that he talked about, and I know this firsthand, and I can't mention names or anything like that, but a conversation was overheard by a local hospital, overheard by someone I know from administration. And all this FEMA money that they were supposed to freaking hand the hospital. Well, guess what? They were supposed to get like $6.5 million, almost $7 million. Well, they come across and said, well, guess what? We're just going to give y'all $1.3 million instead. So now they're fixing to have to start laying off people, cut the doctors' bonuses, getting rid of some of them. So you can get ready for the biggest. And this was set up on purpose to collapse the medical industry, obviously. And so you're fixing to see them. And that's going to be every hospital. They're not going to, you never deal with the government. Well, get ready. They're going to collapse the medical industry like you ain't never seen. So, and I know this firsthand.
Let me ask you this question, and then I'm going to take the question to John Estabrooks. With Biden inflation, with everything that's going on here in America, that just screams and reeks of hyperinflation, and the dollar is less valuable today than it was, say, 4 years ago. How is it possible? Because I have people reaching out to me constantly saying, Mike, this doesn't make sense. The American dollar is 1-for-1 with the euro right now. And then a week or two later, the American dollar is actually stronger than the euro. And how is the American dollar right now have such strength in the world economy when we know that is false? It's not that strong. Your thoughts on that, and then I'm going to go to John Estabrooks.
Well, that's easy to figure out. Like John just said, they're dumping money into the market to prop up the dollar. That's an easy one. That's a real easy one. Hey, let me speak to something that I didn't get to talk about a while ago and that y'all had brought up real quick. I want people to understand. They say, well, look, oil prices is going down. Oh my God, that's great. Yeah, but you know why oil prices is going down? At the same time that they're cutting supply and they're draining everything, just like they are with food and everything else, is because the manufacturing across the world has shut down. So they're shutting demand down. So what they're basically doing is draining all your resources in preparation of putting you in such a bind that you'll either die or they'll get everything that you got. I mean, it's a real simple thing to figure out once you pay attention to it. Oh, here's another one too. Just here's another piece of information for you too. We pay 10 cents a kilowatt hour down here in Louisiana. In the UK and them, they pay $1 a kilowatt hour, but there's a cap. All right. Guess what's going to happen in January? The cap runs out. It's going to go 7 times that. So you want to see people? How are you going to afford that? Get you some of that.
Wow, that is not cool at all. $7 a kilowatt. Who can afford that? John Estabrooks, the strength of the American dollar. I agree with Stephen H here. They've taken that structure bill and they're dumping money into the U.S. economy to prop it up. Now, the last estimate that I seen, it was around $3 billion a day that they were dumping into the U.S. economy to prop it up. Your thoughts on the strength of the American dollar right now worldwide?
Well, it's a lie. There is no strength in the dollar. You know, we have strength against. We're a vast economy, the greatest economy on the planet Earth at one time. But the bottom line is that we control the central bank printing press against all other foreign currencies. So you're dealing with foreign nations who do not have anywhere near the capacity in the GDP of the United States of America. And we're 137% upside down on GDP. But then you're dealing with nations that are 500% upside down in their GDP. Look at Japan. So when you see the dollar advancing against the yen, it's because they've all fallen into the central bank lie. They have all been led down this path of economic collapse. And guess what currency created the collapse of the entire globe? The U.S. Reserve Dollar. We are the reserve currency of the world. They can't have the dollar appear to be weakening, but the bottom line is that it becomes worthless every time they crank up the press. So when they say, print another $780 billion, Joe, and Joe goes and says, man, we need this legislation, and he buys off 1 or 2 Democrat senators, and they pass the legislation, that's pumping money into the economy, directly contrary to what you should do in inflationary times.
Yeah.
So the central bank now has no option. They have to increase the interest rate. And what happened when all this happened? We had 6 straight days of market decline. Why? Because everybody in the market understands the economy. You can't inject currency into the system in inflation. You have to pull currency back into the reserve. It's a whole ass backwards deal because they're not just propping up the United States, they're propping up all the fools that still deal with the U.S. dollar. 2 more billion went to Ukraine yesterday.
Yeah.
2 more billion allocated for Ukraine. Now listen, everybody watch the Ukraine. Watch the videotapes coming out of the Ukraine. You show me, because this has been going on for a long time now, you show me one single new piece of U.S. military equipment anywhere in frickin' Ukraine. It's all a lie.
You're spot on, John. And this is what I'm going to tell the listeners tonight. Reach out to Miles Franklin. Go to info@milesfranklin.com. I'm telling you guys right now, just get your hands on a little bit, just enough to make yourselves feel secure, because this whole house of cards is going to come crashing down. All right, we're at the bottom of the hour here. We're getting real close. I want to roll into the importance of September. I know John kind of touched on it a little bit there, started talking about 9/11 and Rumsfeld and some of the satanic holidays. I want to get Stephen H. in on the conversation as well, but I'm going to let John go first. How important is the month of September, John? Go ahead.
Well, in this occult, and that's the withholding of secrets. So they hold the secrets from humanity to control humanity. And in the occult, you go and you look at the, as far as satanic, and there's two ritual holidays that are very key in September. And go back and research and just do this day in history and go back and look at from September 7th all the way up to September 15th and 16th. And just go back and look in the history of the planet and what has happened in Caesarea. That's a key element, and there's keys to that because that's the seed, and that was the formation of and the creation of the Caesarean mafia, which is the 13 bloodline families of the cabal. And just research that and then know for your own history. You know, we know what happened on 9/11. They tried to convince the entire world, and they put on a show for us, and they crashed 2 tin cans into the World Trade Center made out of steel girts, and everyone was supposed to believe that the jet fuel from these 2 planes crashing into steel would bring down the entire structure, which was all BS, horse crap. And then they bring down a structure that was not hit by anything. 7, building number 7. And what was in building number 7?
A lot
the
of money.
Paperwork. Well, and also the signature of Bill Clinton under gunpoint to sign in the SARA for the United States once they went bankrupt in 1990. The corporation went bankrupt in 90, people. And so then just like right now, what did Joe Biden do? And Miss Jackie looked this up. They just inked Executive Order, whichever 14. What did Derek's always talking about it? Not I've got it, but Joe Biden just renewed it. Wow, he had till the 11th. What position does that put the deep state in? Game over. Game over. Things have to be revealed economically that are not going to be pretty, people. It's not going to get any better. But supposedly the White Hats are in charge, and if they are, well then versus Joe's digital currency from the central bank will crank out a sound money currency. And that piece of legislation was signed in 2018, and it's ready for a rubber stamp the day that things get restored. And that would create a sound money policy in the United States of America. Now, but September, let me give you some insight on some things that are taking place. So September 11th, always be guarded because they've attempted duplicate attacks in Europe and the United States since this is one of their big days, one of their big holidays. But then I want you to know this. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are having a little get-together in Kazakhstan on the 15th and 16th. Xi Jinping will be in Kazakhstan on the 14th. And in the very same city where this is all going to take place, guess who's showing up? Guess who's going to be there too? Pope Francis. Remember your ties and link to the Vatican. Yep. Is he going to capitulate and take his knee to the restoration of the free world republic, sovereign nations? Who knows? Just watch it. Mark it on your calendar. Something big this way comes.
September 30th. The Pope put out that memo. By September 30th, he gave everybody the memo to cash everything in, to move all assets to the Vatican Bank. That is also September 30th, a big month of September. Stephen H., your thoughts on the importance of September? I know that that's not always your wheelhouse, but your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, I don't know. He's right about everything he said in September and stuff. I mean, as much as I know about it. What I see, what happened in this whole deal was Putin and Xi and other nations gaslighted the New World Order, World Economic Forum, and Klaus Schwab and them, into first believing that they were going to do with them. And then I think they stabbed them in the back, and they got always had intention on doing this BRICS deal and making all sovereign nations, which that's what their speeches say, and I think they're going to destroy this World Economic Forum or New World Order agenda, and we're going to go back to basically asset backed like it used to be in sovereign nations and all this other stuff. I think they just gaslighted them, and I think they're fixing to destroy them now. Along with that, because the United States is so corrupt, I'm sorry, but we're going to get taken down. That's just the way it is. But would you rather you want to be completely controlled by the New World Order? You want to be in the BRICS stuff? Take your choice, because the lesser of two evils, I guess you call it.
Well, I'm hoping that that America gets the right reset, that the debt, that we can control the debt, and we can have a asset-backed currency and have the right people in office, and you know, the rebirth of America is what I'm hopeful for.
Well, that's what the
And,
BRICS system is.
yeah, and so with that, we're going to roll into final thought here. I'm going to go to Stephen H first, and then John Estabrooks. You know, there's just so much going on in our world. Sometimes it's even hard to keep up with all that stuff, and a lot of distractions. And we talked about that at the very beginning of the show. Is some of the videos and some of the distractions out there that are making us look this way while they're doing this. I have my final thought already in my mind that I want to talk about, and it has to do with November. But Stephen H., thanks for joining us this evening. I really do appreciate it. Your input is so important. And just so you guys know, Stephen H. spends countless hours of researching. He is a huge part of LWN podcast on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. With me and John Estabrooks. And just all of the research that he is feeding me and John and John's blog. It's so important to have Stephen part of this. What is your final thought for this evening?
My biggest worry is I'm gonna be standing there in a month, 6 months at the window, looking outside and waiting for somebody on a white horse to come riding in while I'm starving to death. And until somebody can show me actual action, significant action, I'm not of the opinion. I'm not waiting on a white horse. And right now, to me, I just think we're being gaslighted. Is what I think.
Well, there's only one white horse I'm looking forward to, and that comes out of the sky, out of the clouds.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
That's the white horse I'm looking for. John Estabrooks, thank you so much for joining this evening. It's always a pleasure to do these videos, these shows with you on the radio. What's your final thought for this evening?
Well, it's a dire time in the entire world. And recognize that, listeners, the entire world is in the same state of affairs that we are. So this is by design. It is a great war, probably the greatest war ever fought, good versus evil. And it is a war of good versus evil. It is a war for the soul of humanity. And we know that the deep state and everything that we do in our show on Tuesday, we've made you very aware and fed you more truth and knowledge than anyone in the listenership around the entire metaverse. We've given you the links, we've given you the data, and that is still the seriousness, and that's the battle. They have injected and murdered and will murder many millions and billions of humans if this is not stopped. And we don't have anyone in Washington, D.C. with enough cojones to stand up and speak the truth. And that's all Republicans. And I shared a conversation with Mike that I had with my representative staff leader, and how they're cowardice and telling me and all the time telling all of us, well, we can't do anything until we get power in November. Yeah, you can do something. You can tell the people the truth, that the injection will kill you. That's it. So in the end of it, the seven trumpets is more likely to be heard, and God wins this thing. And if you go and read Revelation, understand that it takes one single word from Jesus Christ to end all the evil.
Amen, brother. You know, God wins. God wins.
Yes.
Here's my final thought for this evening. I'm going to keep preaching this every show. November is a huge, huge thing for us, and we cannot, as conservatives, as patriots, as Americans, throw in the white towel just because there's still a possibility of machines out there or whatever the left is going to try to do to win November. We cannot throw in that white towel. So make sure that you show up. But more importantly, from now until that date, spotlight every time you're talking to people at work, your coworkers, if you're at a barbecue with your friends, your family, with your mom, your dad, your sister, your cousins, your sister-in-law, whoever it is, make sure that you constantly reinforce and talk about the failed policies of Joe Biden and this administration. Continuously beat that dead horse over and over and over again. We have an open border. We have Bidenflation. We have high gas prices. Continuously preach the failed policies of Joe Biden, because guess what, folks? The Democrat Party cannot run on anything other than the attack of Donald Trump and the conservative and patriot movement. With that being said, thanks for joining me this evening, Stephen H., John Esterbrooks. As always, it's a pleasure. You guys, I'm done for the week unless there's any kind of breaking news that comes out this weekend. I'll pop on and do a live. Other than that, I'll be back on schedule next Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Devotions with LW, headline hits, and the big show next week. I got some guests already lined up for next week, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, John. Thank you, Stephen, for another great show tonight.
Brother. All right, brother, I got one more thing. In your conversation about November, I created a blog, and it's done through a political activism deal. And it's the second blog. If anybody goes to United to Save America, I lay out a game plan and an understanding of every failed policy, but then your actions as an activist, what we have to stay focused on from now to November.
All right. Check them out. UnitedToSaveAmerica.com. That's John Esserbrook, Stephen H's blog. It's a wonderful piece of information. You guys can get so much information there that you can share out with family and friends. Love y'all. God bless. Catch you on the next one.